medical professional before participating in any activities offered by Chronically Awesome. Never rely on our content in place of seeking professional medical advice. By using this video, you agree that you are voluntarily using or acting upon our content. You also agree that, save where Chronically Awesome is at fault, your use of or acting upon the content is at your own risk, including, but not limited to, all risk to yourself of harm, injury or illness, and in particular any harm, injury or illness resulting from overexertion or exacerbation of any medical conditions caused by the use of the content. Always remember that, if you experience pain while using or acting upon our content, stop and consult your doctor or medical professional. Always warm up before a class and warm down after. You do not need to complete an entire class. You can always start with a short section and build up to completing a full class over time. Pace yourself and listen to your body. Most of all, have fun. Exercise should be empowering and make you feel good. If it's not fun, try a different style of class until you find something you enjoy.
So we're going to start today in a seated position. Now you can sit any way that feels comfortable for you. So you can either be on your knees like I am, or you can be in a long frog position where the legs are out, the knees are bent and the soles of the feet are touching. Or you can stay on a chair. But we're just going to be looking at our alignment, our breathing and centering. Firstly in our seated position, and then we're going to come down onto the mat. So it doesn't matter how you're sitting as long as that spine is really lengthened. And we've got a sense of openness across the chest. And we've got the centre of the head over our ribs and over our pelvis. So this is a really good way of getting an understanding of that alignment. We want the head stacked over the rib cage, over the pelvis. So just letting the arms just relax by the side. We're going to come into some shoulder rolls just to really mobilise the shoulders and get a sense of openness across that chest. So making sure that the seat bones are nice and even, we haven't sort of fallen over one side. And just finding a nice breath. They're going to take that shoulder up and round. Good, so just bring it up, back and round. Just going to keep going with these. Shoulder bringing it up, back and down. Not collapsing into the spine. Getting real length and energy through the top of the head. If you find sitting on the floor a bit uncomfortable, you can always sit on a block, which gives your hips a little bit more release. But if you really find struggling sitting on the floor, I would recommend just sitting in a chair. Good. Let's just do one more to each side. Good. So let's just come on to a bit of our breathing. Now with Pilates we do something called our lateral thoracic breathing, which is where we breathe into the lower parts of the rib cage. Because we're looking to release any tension into the pelvic floor today, we're actually going to do some lower breathing. So really breathing in between our legs before we come down onto the mat. So this exercise is called the 6 breaths. And the idea with this exercise is we're breathing in, your diaphragm is going to lower. And this is really going to help with some strengthening as well as releasing through that pelvic floor. So just letting the arms and the hands relax. And close your eyes for this. Just get comfortable. And we're going to breathe in right between our legs, low as you can breathe. And release. Good. Let's go again. Breathing in right between those legs. So now let's bring focus to our pubic bone. So as we're breathing, I want you to start to think you're breathing into the pubic bone. Good, one more, breathing in. So pubic bone and now the navel, so where our belly button is, we're going to breathe into this area here. any point you feel dizzy, do please stop. Good. Now we're going to breathe just above that navel. And then for the next one, we can place our hands on either sides of those ribs, and we're going to come into the lateral breathing. So breathing in, widening that rib cage, and releasing. Breathing in, and releasing. And then for our last breath, let's just place one hand on the lower part of our tummy and just one on our chest. Let those shoulders relax, the chest to be open. Let's just do a couple of breaths here. Just releasing all that air, all that carbon dioxide. Last one. Good. And then we can just relax those arms down by the side of the body. Just steady the breathing, bring your awareness back, and then very, very carefully, we're going to come down onto our mats into a relaxation position. So we're going to make the feet just a little bit wider now, and we're going to come into some nice knee rolls, get a little bit of rotation, as well as working and engaging that pelvic floor. So taking a breath in, I want you to start to take both knees over to the right as you exhale that air out. So keeping the shoulders heavy and relaxed into the mat. I want you to only go as far as you can without losing your alignment. So as soon as that shoulder starts to lift, you've gone too far. We're engaging those deep abdominals. We're really sensing that squeeze and lift in the pubic, the pelvic floor and around that pubic bone. Just hold here, maintain. And then exhaling as you take both those knees to center. So let's go to the other side. Let's take a breath in to prepare, and as you exhale, you're going to start to draw both those knees over so the foot slightly rolls on the outer border. Don't let the shoulders lift. So start to squeeze and lift. Hold here, breathe in. And then exhaling, coming back to the center. Let's just do a couple more on each side. Breathe in and exhaling. Hold, engage, squeeze and lift. And then exhaling. Other side. So that opposite hip will be lifting. Breathe in and exhale. Good, let's do one more to each side. Keeping that chest lovely and open and relaxed. Releasing any tension in the face. Keeping the mouth relaxed. Good, and then bringing those knees back to center. So drawing the feet back in to make sure they're about hip width apart again. Just checking that the alignment, the thigh bones are still sitting comfortably into the hip sockets. And you might want to adjust your feet a little bit, but we're going to come into our spine curls where we're lifting the spine up and away, a real good hip strengthener and also very good for the pelvic floor muscles. So arms by the side of the body. We're going to take a breath in, and as you exhale, like what we did at the start, remembering rolling that marble towards the bottom of our ribs. So we're tucking that tailbone, we're flattening into the mat, but then we're pushing through those hips as we release them up. So the hips are coming up and the ribs are relaxing down, feeling those knees want to lengthen away. Take a breath in here, exhaling. Coming back down through that center line, bone by bone by bone, keeping that tailbone tucked for as long as possible, and then releasing into the mat. Good, well done. So we're going to do 2 more of these, and then we're going to modify it a little bit. So breath in, exhaling, So tucking that tailbone, opening those hips, releasing those shoulders away from the ears. Now if you're finding you've got a head cushion and it's getting a little bit restricted, you can remove your head cushion out the way if you need to open the chest a little bit more. So maintain, relaxing those ribs, exhaling, bone by bone, nice and controlled, even weight through those feet, and then back down. One more. So exhaling. So the hips open, the ribs relax, coming to about our shoulder blades. Breath in. And releasing back down, bone by bone by bone, keeping that tailbone tucked. And then just releasing back down to the mat for a moment. I'm just going to put my head cushion back because that works for me. So we're going to add now some more rotation with our spine curl. So you might just want to watch me for this one. So we're going to start coming into the normal spine curl. So scooping that belly, really tucking that tailbone, and you're going to maintain this position. Now if you're happy, I want you to start to dip that right hip just over to one side, so you're pushing now that left hip up, engaging that pubic floor, giving it a little squeeze from both ends, lifting up inside you, coming back to the center. Find that stability, and then can you start to lower the left hip as you lift the right, and then coming back to center. Once you've got that stability in the pelvis, lower yourself back down, bone by bone by bone, and release. Good. So let's go again. I'll add the breath this time. So we exhale, we scoop, we open, coming into our spine curl. Find that stability. We want a nice even pelvis. You can place your hands on your pelvis if you want a bit of feedback as well. So let's take a breath in as we now lower the left hip. And exhale, draw it back. Other side, breathing in, scooping, engaging that pubic bone. Coming back, quick breath in, and then exhaling, bone by bone, all the way down. And just releasing back down, just relaxing into the mat for a moment. Now this might be enough for you today, and that's absolutely fine. If you want to take a step further, we can add a little bit more challenge by adding an arm as well. So we're going to come into that spine curl first. Breath in, breath out. Nice openness, engagement, ribs are relaxing down, hands on the hip bones. So this time, as you start to drop the right hip, you can actually start to take your right arm overhead and then come back to center, arm back on hip, going over to the other side. So we're starting to drop that left hip, and then if you want to, you can reach the same arm down and back, and then drawing everything back, and lower the spine back down, bone by bone by bone, and just release yourself into the mat. We're coming onto all fours, and we want the wrists to be comfortably underneath our shoulders and the knees underneath our hip bones. And spreading out the fingers and just having a look at the creases in your elbows and just making sure that they're facing each other so we're not over or extending in the joints. You have a little bit of engagement in the deep abdominals, and again just reminding yourself of contracting that pelvic floor muscle. So once you're happy with your position, we want the scapula to be coating the rib cage comfortably, and we're not letting the head just collapse. So it's a strong movement, and particularly into the shoulders. We're going to do this first exercise called pad paw. So it's really good for our wrist and shoulder strength, and also it means that we do need to use those deep abdominals and that pelvic floor to help with our stability. So I'm going to take a breath in, and as you exhale, I just want you to start to lift the left hand slightly and place it back down. So we're engaging as we just start to make our base of support a little bit harder. Relax down. We're just padding the floor. If this is really too much for your wrists, then even just holding a 4-point kneeling position is really strengthening and really good. You can find that maybe you just want to do some rocking backwards and forwards instead. Just doing a few of these. Any movement, really keeping that core stability to keep our spine and pelvis in a nice neutral position. Just finishing your last set here, and then we're going to be settled back down into that 4-point position, and we're going to go straight into our cat. Really good spinal flexion, and again good for our pelvic floor strength. So I want you to take a breath in, and as you exhale, I want you to start to roll that pelvis on top of your thighs. So you're scooping that belly back towards your spine, engaging that pelvic floor. You're opening the lower back, you're opening the mid back, and then you're letting your head just dangle, give it a nod, give it a wiggle, looking between your thighs. Breathe in here, and then exhaling, releasing both from both ends. Back to that starting position, so don't let yourself collapse. I'm going to do 2 more of these because it's obviously quite strong on the wrists. Breathing in, breathing out, so roll that pelvis first, scoop the belly, open the lower back, open the mid back. Come into your full spinal flexion, just let that head, drop it, dangle it. Breathing in and releasing, don't let yourself just collapse in the middle. Good. If you can, we're going to do 1 more. Breathing in, breathing out. So we're rolling that pelvis first, scooping the belly, engaging that pelvic floor, opening the lower, opening the mid, and coming into full flexion. Breathing in and releasing all the way back to that start position. And then after that, you can carefully just come and sit back onto your forearms. Just release those wrists. Give them a couple of circles. Going both directions. Spreading out the fingers. And then just having your arms out nice and wide, where we're just going to have a nice couple of breaths here. Breathing in, breathing out. And then coming up into a seated position. And we're actually going to come onto our knees for this one. We're going to come into some side flexion. So if you want to, if you've got sore knees today, it might be worth doing some cushions underneath your knees, or just folding up the mat again. But let's just come onto our knees and really start to think about the 3 body weights stacked and having a nice length in that spine. We're just going to roll the shoulders twice, just let them sit comfortably on the back of the rib cage. Looking forward. And we're going to take our right hand, we're going to place it behind our head. Make sure the head and not the neck. Elbows slightly in our peripheral vision. And just reminding yourself of that little squeeze of the pelvic floor and those deep abdominals. So we're just going to take a breath in here. Then as we exhale, I want you to just start to take yourself over to the left-hand side. So we're really feeling length both ways, so we're not just collapsing. Breathe in. Back to center. We're going to do that 2 more times, same side. Breathing in. Breathe in. And restack. 1 more. So we're thinking head, neck, upper spine. We're engaged here, keeping that spine in neutral. And restacking. And then after you've done your 3, you can just reach that arm all the way back down. Just roll those shoulders twice. And now we're going to take our left hand behind the back of the head. Relax that shoulder down. Take a breath in, exhaling, thinking head, neck, upper spine. So we're still keeping length in the waist. Breathe in. Release. 2 more. Breathe in. Good. Last one. And release. Good. And then you can just float that arm back down and then just roll those shoulders twice. Bring them forward as well. And then very, very carefully, you can just come down into a full seated position. And just take a little moment for yourself, just feeling everything relaxed and soften.